is AEW Unrestricted. I am Will Washington. She is Aubrey Edwards.
Hi.
Welcome.
Yes. Oh my God.
This is such an exciting time for AEW. It always is an exciting time for AEW. But in particular, I am just so excited about some of the stuff we have coming up. And we've got Cleveland right around the corner. We got Halloween coming up. And we just finished up with Wrestle Dream. We got to be in Aubrey's neck of the woods, which is always a good time. And how was it for you? How was it getting to have such a short travel time to work?
Oh, it was interesting because like Tacoma's one of those places that for me on non-traffic, it's 45 minutes. With traffic, it could be up to 2 hours. And Seattle's real good. Yeah. And Seattle's real good about shutting down the major highways on the weekends for construction, which makes everything even longer. So I got a hotel room. I did not drive to work that day. I was like, I'm avoiding this. But
oddly enough, though, I felt like travel was pretty simple. I thought coming out of the hotel, it was like maybe the hotel to the arena felt like half an hour.
Because you guys were near the airport, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was the thing, is that you didn't have to deal with 5 or 520. So when you were only on like, yeah, it's a whole thing. I could go on and on. We could do a whole podcast about Seattle and the Washington State Department of Transportation. It's fun. But it's funny because like Wrestle Dream itself was sort of like this really emotional roller coaster. Like my mom fell out of her chair when Takeshita won the title because she was just so absolutely excited. And I'm like, is she okay? And my sister's like, yeah, she's fine. She's just really, really excited. And I'm like, okay. The other one, completely unrelated to wrestling. So main event's going on, which is this crazy, insane, violent match, right? And all of us are trying to get into our positions for whatever happens next. And I literally don't know what's happening next. They've just said, it's chaos. Take your cues accordingly. Oh, okay, cool. I have no idea what's going on. And I'm watching Jeff Jarrett describe things to extras. Like, okay, we're going to do this, and then you guys are going to come out, and then this, and then just keep this in mind, blah, blah, blah. And if you've ever seen Jeff Jarrett talk, he's very animated with his hands.
Yes.
And I knew this, and what I should have done was not be standing there with my meal prep right next to him. So I've got this little dish with rice and vegan chicken and some fruit and some cooked spinach, and I'm real excited about it. He goes, and then this, and his arm goes really wide, and just everything goes everywhere. It's like a wedding with the amount of rice that goes up in the air. And I'm just standing there. It's in my eyelashes. It's on my shirt. And I'm just like, I think I have to go out in 10 minutes. And I have no idea if I'm covered in rice or not. So normally we're concerned about whether or not we're covered with like people's blood before we run back out there. But I'm like, nope, just vegan meal prep. No big deal. So that's how my Wrestle Dream went.
That's the thing to be covered in Commission State, Washington, because
right.
There's blood, then you've got answers.
Right. Now we have to stop things. We have to have conversations with people. There's got to be paperwork. But rice is okay. Commission doesn't mind about rice. Awesome. Well, I mean, Wrestle Dream is crazy. We're on the road to Full Gear. It's nuts. And it's a very exciting time in AEW. There's lots of things happening. It's a very inspiring time in AEW. We have lots of people coming through the doors that are all very exciting, who have awesome backgrounds that we love hearing about on this podcast. So, Will, who's our guest today?
Aubrey, the guest we have today is a very special guest because just last week he got to announce to the world that he is once again all elite. And I'm so excited to have this guest here on AEW Unrestricted. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the one and only Lio Rush. Lio, thank you for being here.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah. I was waiting for you to click a button and then a cheer started, but I'm glad you guys did it. I'm glad you did it.
Well, thank you for being here, Lio. I want to start with that. I want to start with the fact that you are once again all elite. That wasn't a... I suppose it wasn't quite an angle. It was legitimate. You signed your contract at Wrestle Dream. We made the announcement on the AEW socials, and you got to let the world know. Of course, you were interrupted by MVP and Shelton Benjamin, but nonetheless, that was legit. You are all elite. Talk to me about how that all came together.
Oh, man.
Where to start?
I know. Where to start. I feel like I've had quite an interesting year. I ended up starting the year off doing my own tour on the independent circuit called the Where's Home World Tour. And I went everywhere. I went I was all throughout America. I went over to Europe, Canada, and it was honestly a search for my home. I feel like I've been on the independent circuit for the last 2-3 years. I've wrestled in other companies, been at other promotions throughout the time that I first signed with AEW. And I don't know, I was just trying to figure out where home was. And kind of at the tail end of that tour, I got a random text, 3 a.m, saying if I can show up at AEW in LA. And
the Casino Gauntlet match.
Yeah, the Casino Gauntlet.
Yeah.
And so many things were going through my head. But I was extremely excited. I knew that it was going to be an actual surprise, even though I did a surprise in the Casino Battle Royal before. But I knew that this one was going to be like legitimately a surprise. But yeah, ever since that day, just a lot of hard work, just a lot of staying consistent with myself, staying consistent with AEW, letting them know that, so much time has passed. I'm in a much better place, and I'm ready to work. I'm ready to be here. I'm ready to be all elite. I didn't say that right off the bat, but but all the work that I put in, I think that ultimately gave me the time and space to see if I did want AEW to be my home. I feel like if it went any other way other than how it went down at Wrestle Dream, it probably wouldn't have been the right fit, again. But now that, I've gotten a chance to be in the locker room, be on all the shows, be on Ring of Honor, Collision, Rampage, Dynamite, be able to work with Tony, be able to work with all of the guys and girls in the locker room again, I feel like it showed me that, this is the place that I want to be.
So what would you say is sort of the biggest difference between Lio Rush this time around versus last time you were All Elite?
I think last time I had a lot of fear. I think I was going into it scared. I think I was, it almost felt like I was getting another opportunity at being Lio Rush on television, but it almost didn't feel fair that I had to do it in this way. I was still so young. I was still, and I can't say that I'm young forever, but it's true.
I feel like people in wrestling are younger for longer than they would be if they were like in real life.
Yeah. And I was doing, I was going through so much during that time. That was during the pandemic. So everything outside of what AEW was, obviously going on, and it was just kind of a disaster off the jump, but it was nobody's fault, particularly, or specifically. I think it was just not the right time. I don't think it was the right time for me. I don't think it was the right time for AEW to have me there in that mental state that I was in. And it just wasn't fair I don't think for both parties. So, but now I feel like I'm in a space where I feel confident. I feel a lot wiser. I feel a lot more prepared than I was before. And I know what I'm capable of. I know what I can bring to the table, and I want to offer that, and I want to be a part of what AEW is doing, and I want to be a part of the people that want to make AEW what it is. And I'm just going into it with a much different mindset, and I think that's the biggest difference.
Well, I think a lot of people kind of undersell because you'll be 30 this year, correct?
I will be 30 this year.
Oh, dude. 30s are way better than 20s. I'm just going to put it out there. Like, you've got a lot to look forward to.
Well, and that's the big thing that I've always recognized is that I think a lot of people undersell. Like 3 years may feel like a short amount of time, like from an outside perspective. But when that 3 years is the difference between your 20s and your 30s, like it is such a maturity milestone to hit that when you do hit that point and all of a sudden it's like there's just certain things that just priorities change. There's so many things that just click differently. And so, I can definitely just respect the idea of, I felt like for me personally, 26 was a completely different William Washington than 30-year-old me. Like as a parent, like everything, there's just so much that can change and that can affect you. And so like, I fully respect the idea that, you're in a different headspace today. Would you agree with that?
No, for sure. No, I definitely agree with that.
Well, one of the things that didn't really change is the fact that the first time around you were tied to Dante Martin. Now, this time around, you're also getting to experience a very different Dante Martin, but a very different Dante Martin in that all of a sudden his entourage has expanded. Because at the time, right, at the time, Darius was injured, and you were really kind of filling Darius's role with Dante. And then, of course, Action Andretti hadn't debuted yet, and now Leila Grey is in effect, and you guys are suddenly a clique. And I was thinking about the shirt, everything. I want to talk a bit about how that's all worked out and how you guys have come together as a group.
Yeah, I don't even know how it happened, but it works. And me and Action, he trained at the same school that I trained at in Maryland, MCW. We were basically trained by the same trainer who unfortunately passed away years ago. So I feel like we have that bond when it comes to, work within wrestling and just how we approach our in-ring style and energy and all of that. Dante, the obvious history with Dante, being the first time that I was signed to AEW, which is crazy because I remember getting a rental car and I asked Dante if he could drive, and he said that he still wasn't old enough to rent a car.
Yep.
And it made me think about just how young he was, even like back then when I first started doing stuff with him. And I was just like, man. But then Darius, Dante and Darius, but Darius in particular, Darius met me when he was about, I think like 14, 15 years old. He sent me he sent me a picture of him coming to one of my meet and greet tables. I think it was before I went off the WWE. So that blew my mind. I mean, I was young myself, so to see myself standing next to Darius when he was so young, I was just like, man, that's pretty cool. And I feel like I have all of these guys, all three of them. I feel like they kind of look up to me in a way. It makes me feel old. It makes me feel like I'm about to be 30 years old because they have watched me on TV when they were teenagers, and they have looked up to me in that way. And I feel like it's so cool. I've always wanted to be in a group, a stable, but I wanted that group to be people who, are kind of like me in a way. I want us to all have like a similar style or a similar, certain something, and maybe that's youth. I don't know, but yeah, maybe that's youth that we have in common. And then Leila, I've been knowing Leila for years, all over the independent circuit. So just having that connection with Leila is pretty cool to see that we can do something on screen now, which is really, really cool.
I like that Lio feels old in this scenario, whereas Will and I are both closer to 40 than 30. And I'm just sitting here like, oh, you young kids with my walker.
Yeah.
Dear Lord.
It does. It feels like that in a way. It's so weird. The beard is starting to come in now.
Oh.
So I'm
sweet summer child.
Yeah.
It's great because it's like it is interesting that like it's all context, right? Like you're the wise one. You've been through it all. You've been through trials, tribulations, all this sort of stuff. So you're coming in with all of the like knowledge and the wisdom. So you are the veteran of the group, which is really crazy to see. But at the same time, I think all of you guys kind of complement each other really well. Like you're all flippy dudes, but you're all flippy dudes in very different ways. So before we go to break, I kind of want to talk about that a little bit. What do you feel like is the thing that complements you guys well in the ring from a style perspective?
I think we all are inspired in ways with each other's styles. I feel like we all bring a certain element of high flying that we don't see in ourselves. So when we're looking at each other wrestle, we're looking at it like almost like in a maze, like, oh man, like I wish that I could do that. But then like one of them are looking at one of us wrestle and they're like, oh, I wish I could do that. But it's I think we look up to each other. I think we admire each other's work, and I feel like it complements each other styles like very well. You know, Dante is the one who can probably jump on top of a building.
Yep.
I'm the one who can move in ways that, you know, nobody else in the group can move in different directional angles and with my quickness and Action is so crazy athletically gifted. It's insane. But then you have Darius who brings like somewhat of the power element to the group, which is cool because he's still a high flyer himself. And then Leila is Leila. She doesn't do that. She doesn't do the high flying, but Leila has that certain thing about her that, you know, kind of brings out something all in us. Like she brings a certain fire, a certain kind of energy that we all bounce off of really well. So.
I love it. I love what you guys have brought together to each other, and I kind of want to talk a little bit more about some of the experiences you guys have gotten to have together, and we're going to get to do that right here when AEW Unrestricted continues. A little more after this. Unrestricted. AEW Unrestricted, we're back. It's Aubrey and Will with our guest Lio Rush, and we are talking about really your experience so far being a part of Top Flight as a faction. And I really wanted to talk a little bit more about your experience getting to work 0 Hour this year in London at All In.
Yes.
And, you know, what was that experience like in front of that crowd and getting to be a part of that?
That was breathtaking. I mean, it was incredible. I honestly couldn't think about anything other than I just never thought I'd be here again. I never thought that I'd be in AEW again. So for me to be able to work my way from that Casino Battle Royal to All In, and just being able to, you know, be out there before the doors opened and see, you know, how big the stage was and how big the ramp was, and to see, you know, who I was having that moment with. I think it was pretty special. I think it was really special. I was proud of myself. I was proud of, you know, everybody that was there, not even just, you know, Dante, Darius, and Action, but just the whole crew. I think it's pretty cool being a part of, and granted, I'm not an AEW day one, you know, person, but I have been around during the early years of AEW. And I mean, it's still in the early years of AEW. So I feel like to just be able to be a part of that is really cool and really special. And for me to almost be a part of AEW in two completely separate eras of AEW too, just seeing the growth of it all and the growth within myself to get to this point. So it was really cool.
Yeah, for sort of the context of the timeline, I mean, the first time you were around was during the pandemic, and the second time you were around, we're doing shows at Wembley. So obviously a very different AEW, and there's just been so much growth in us. But also it's kind of funny because it's like almost a comparison to you. There's so much growth with you, both as a person and a wrestler. It's kind of like the stories are parallel almost. It's really beautiful. I also loved that 16-man match because I feel like everyone kind of stood out in their own way, even though there are literally 16 people and it's like there's so much going on, but it's like everyone gets a little slice of appetizer to show who they are before like the main show starts. So it was really, really cool, and I'm glad you got to be a part of that.
Really cool. Yeah, and I'm glad that you were part of that. And for the record, I've never been a part of a 16-man.
Me neither.
Before.
I think we were planning it, and I literally just looked somebody and I go, okay, who's involved in the finish? And then I just didn't even bother knowing anything else. I'm like, we'll figure it out when we're out there.
That was really cool.
It was insane. So on the topic of matches, you've had a number of really awesome matches since you've gotten back. Another one we worked together was you and Jack Perry when you were challenging for the TNT Championship. And is there any in particular that really stand out to you so far in your time at AEW, either the first run or the second?
Well, this second run has been, I couldn't have even dreamt of some of the matches that I've had so far. That ladder match is forever going to stick out to me. Being powerbombed on that ladder by Takeshita was horrible. The match that I found out what seemed like the day of that I was wrestling PAC. And I was like, this is a really insane match to find out that I'm having today. I mean, this is somebody that I watched, on TV. I got to be in there with Bryan Danielson. I got to mix it up with Claudio. I got to mix it up with Roderick Strong. Mox. I mean, I've been able to work with so many people and wrestle so many people that I've literally looked up to. And I get to work with them every single week. So it's been really cool to be able to have these matches, not even for myself, but, for the fans. I feel like I always see so many, messages, DMs or tweets of people saying like, man, I didn't even know that I wanted this match until like it was in front of our faces. So it's been really cool.
I will say that peeling back the curtain a little bit, just as an observer, when one of the segments I produced that ended up being for social was you with MVP and Shelton. And when I came up to you and told you about this and told you where it was leading, I watched your eyes light up. When I said this is heading towards you and Shelton, and I could just see it in your face of like, oh, I get to work Shelton Benjamin.
Yeah.
This is going to be something. And like that to me felt amazing. Just to watch, I can definitely see that in this run there's a certain excitement about some of the names you're getting to work and some of the experiences you're getting to have with guys that, again, just for me as a fan, I got to watch growing up, and now seeing you get to work with these guys and I can just sense that there's a sense of how did I get here, and a bit of excitement from you that I think is making this an incredible run for you.
Yes, no, absolutely. And to kind of go off of what you said of, how did I get here? I've been thinking about recently just of myself as a kid wanting to be a professional wrestler. And I remember the day of sitting in a diner with my parents coming up with the name Lio Rush.
Whoa.
And I remember, wanting to be signed to WWE. And I remember wanting to wrestle for New Japan Pro Wrestling. And I remember wanting to wrestle for, TNA and Impact and just all these places. And I was just thinking to myself, like, man, like, I was a kid with a dream and watching all of these people on TV. And now I get to fly across the world and bump into some of these people that I've watched, and they can come up to me with a hug and say, Leo, it's so good to see you. And I'm like, how did I get here? How did I, get to a point where I'm glad that we're talking about this, because I was thinking about if I wanted to tweet it out or not. But my first wrestling t-shirt that I ever bought as a, like, just me being a fan and wanting to have a t-shirt of a wrestler, I bought a Daniel Bryan t-shirt.
Whoa!
I remember I think it was like an Obey inspired shirt, and it just said yes at the bottom of it.
Mm-hmm. I remember that one.
And
the black one? Was it the black one?
I had a gray one. It was
okay,
like,
yeah, I know exactly the one you're talking about. Yeah.
And to be in the ring with him was mind blowing to me. To be able to see that match that he had with Mox was mind blowing to me. The fact that, I was there live. So yeah, it's been a pretty cool experience the second go around. And this run is exciting to me.
I want to touch back on how you said, you came up with the name Lio Rush in a diner with your parents. So they were obviously very supportive of you being a wrestler then, if this is something you've been talking about, realistically your entire life. Like, what was the response when you did tell them, like, I'm going to go be a wrestler now, bye?
I feel like I didn't even really have to tell them. They knew from the jump. I don't talk about it a lot, but I was a huge wrestling fan as a kid, like huge. My bedroom was covered in wrestling pictures. I had tubs and tubs of wrestling toys. I had so many wrestling DVDs and VHSs, and I was obsessed. I was literally obsessed with wrestling. I've been an athlete my entire life. I probably should be in the MLB right now. I probably be a wrestler. But I stuck to just my love and my passion and the joy that I have for wrestling. And I turned that into my career. I turned that into my life. And it's been really cool. Lio Rush, obviously coming from my first name, which is Lionel. I don't know if a lot of people know that. They probably do know that. But
fun fact of the day.
Yeah, fun fact. Lio. A lot of people in high school call me Leo. A lot of people call me Lai. So that's where Leo came from. And then Rush came from not only my physical speed in the ring, but it also came from my trainer, who told me that I needed to, and excuse my language, he always used to tell me that I needed to slow the fuck down. Because I was always like in a hurry and in a rush, quote unquote, in a rush to like learn and like grow. And like, as soon as I did one thing, I wanted to hurry up and do the next thing. And he just used to always just tell me to relax. So that's where the last name Rush came from. So yeah, it was pretty cool how I came up with that.
Well, I want to talk a little bit about the background before all of that. Let's talk about kind of the humble beginnings of your career in professional wrestling. And some of the earliest work people know from you was really CZW, it feels like. And so what was that experience like in the beginning?
The beginning of my wrestling career was very interesting. I don't think anybody really knew what to make of me in my earlier years. I think I was very talented. I was very athletic when I first started. So I think that I had that going for me in the ring, as far as in-ring capability. People just saw that I was a really young and athletic kid. I used to travel a lot with people who that you see that is on TV right now. I was the young kid in the cars. I was the young kid, in the locker rooms. Now 10 years later, you see the whole locker room is just filled with young people. But it wasn't like that when I was wrestling, like when I first started wrestling. I was literally like one of the only kids on one of these like big shows. I was the only kid on a PWG show. I was the only kid, on CZW. I was the only kid at Beyond. All of these like really big places that people were talking about. And I can't just say that it was me. It was people that I traveled on the road with and who decided that they wanted to take a liking to me and help me grow and help me get to where I am today. Guys like Swerve, guys like Sami Callihan, guys like Ricochet, guys like Will Ospreay, all of these guys, they helped me get to where I am today. So, yeah, it's crazy.
It's interesting because I remember, it was really the PWG stuff, and particularly, and the name I'm probably about to bring up, but a lot of where I noticed people started noticing you was around the PWG stuff, and really like when Danielle Fishel was like really high on Lio Rush, and she
buddy,
and I felt like that put a lot of eyes on you at the time, and
Yeah.
and I remember like how much of like I at the time I'd heard of Lio Rush, but then when it was like, okay, all of a sudden Topanga is like hanging around PWG shows and she's like really into Lio Rush, and all of a sudden I started noticing you popping up a whole lot more around that time period.
Yeah.
people really respect Topanga's opinion on wrestling. That's what I've learned today.
Yeah. No, that was a really fun and exciting time period. I think that PWG era for me was right off of me not re-signing with Ring of Honor. I was in Ring of Honor for about a year, and then I went off on the independent circuit for a little bit, and PWG was one of those places that I was starting to catch a good amount of steam, and a lot of people started to know who I was, and which was very weird for me. It was weird for me. I was obviously started off on the indies, but they weren't like really big places. And then to go from that to Ring of Honor, but I was so used to being on Ring of Honor and being on, television and having like a little bit different of a experience in wrestling, being able to wrestle on TV and wrestle some of the biggest names in wrestling literally today, which was a very crazy year roster wise when I was in Ring of Honor. But to come out of that and start doing indies again, but people are now saying like, oh man, like I was watching you on Ring of Honor. Like that was really cool for me because it felt like I put in a lot of work to be able to carry that into independent promotions and just continue to build my name. So yeah, that was a fun era for me.
Hell yeah. Oh man, this is awesome. I love that you're just like the epitome of hard work and all of that's just coming together. And we've got so much more to talk about with Lio Rush here on AEW Unrestricted. Coming up after the break. Unrestricted. Hey, Unrestricted. It's Aubrey and Will. We're talking to Lio Rush, and this has just been such an inspiring conversation, just seeing kind of the ups and downs you've been through, the first time at All Elite Wrestling, the second time at All Elite Wrestling, and just seeing the person, not even just the wrestler, but the person that you've grown into has been really, really awesome. And I'm glad we've gotten the chance to talk to you today about it. And since we're on the topic of indies, I actually wanted to discuss a little bit because I think before you came back to AEW, you and I were on a Prestige show together. And you were facing one of my buddies, Jaden. And I had not seen your character at the time, which was this black heart Lio Rush that was absolutely terrifying.
I'll say his name 3 times.
I know, right? Oh, we've said it once, so let's keep track. But I'm curious because like everyone sort of like evolves and grows, not only just as people, but also as wrestlers and characters. So sort of what have you taken from the characters you've played on the indies? How have you incorporated those into the Lio Rush that we're seeing on AEW television today?
I think the Lio Rush that you're seeing on AEW television today is a very raw, real, and I guess I can say unrestricted Lio Rush. This is me to a T. This is who I am. I like to talk about it because it's kind of corny, but it's kind of cool at the same time. But, I made a theme song called I'll Be Me. And I feel like, the lyrics to it are essentially just, telling people that I'm going to be unapologetically me. And, if you don't like it, then, oh, well. I feel like so many people struggle with who they are or who they want to be or how they can be different than the next person. And I always tell people that if you just be yourself, you're already different than the next person.
I'm writing that
So
down.
I think, so many people are scared to be themselves, and I'm guilty of it. I'm still kind of guilty of it. I'm still growing. I'm still learning. I'm still learning myself, learning who I am, learning how to communicate, learn how to, you know, communicate to people that this is who I am, and be comfortable with that. So the person that you're seeing, the wrestler that you're seeing on AEW right now, is the person that I am becoming, the person who I've always wanted to be, and the person who I know I am. And that's me. That's Lio Rush. That's the person who works hard and loves music and loves fashion and loves entertaining and loves bringing people up with him and loves contributing to other people's success. That's me. So, yeah, you're seeing me.
I love it. I want to talk a little bit about the music, and the fact that that's something that fans have really gotten to experience from you over the last few years, and you've gotten to really find your groove in that and find your sound. Talk a bit about what inspires you musically.
I think life experiences, different vibrations and time periods that you live in. I feel like making music is almost my voice. Like I said, I'm still trying to figure out how to communicate to people who I am or who I want to be or how I am. And I feel like music is my voice. When I'm in a very professional setting, I feel like I do know how to bring those words to play. But when we're getting more intimate and we're talking about things that do cut deep and things that do, hit the surface, I do struggle with that a little bit. So I feel like with my background, with my family, being musicians and being artists, I feel like that is just a part of me. Music isn't something that I just wanted to, I want to like just randomly be a music artist one day. It's like I feel like this is just something that has come out of me because this is what I am used to or what I know or yeah. So music to me is very emotional to me. It's very uplifting to me. It's very I feel like music can be so inspiring and in so many ways. It can be so influential in so many ways. It can dictate people's moods. It can dictate people's thought processes. It can, music is so important to me. And not just the lyrics, but the melodies and the harmonies and the BPM and, all of that stuff, triggers human emotion and interactions and so many different things. So, yeah, I hope that music is something that a lot of people are going to hear more from me now that I am in AEW. I plan on, putting that in the forefront a lot more. So I'm looking forward to it.
So you've been very open about your struggles with mental health a lot of times in your song lyrics and whatnot. How do you practice self-care? Like, how do you take care of yourself?
That is a very good question, Aubrey. That is something that I'm actually still trying to figure out to this day. I feel like I give so much of myself to so many people. I'm a husband, I'm a dad of 3 boys.
Poor buddy.
I've got 4 sisters. I'm busy. So yeah, I'm hard on myself when it comes to that. Self-care is one of those things that I try my best to focus on, but I'm not the best at it because I'm a workaholic.
Same.
You know what I mean? I bury myself in work all the time. Not because, I'm trying to distract from something, or because I'm trying to, push out to do something that isn't self-care. But this is just this is just who I am. I've been this way since I was a kid. I've been a hustler since I was a kid. I've been, a go-getter since I was a kid. So I need help in slowing myself down.
It takes practice.
Yeah, but the music helps. Like that's also why I like, making music, because it does sit me down. It helps me, mentally process, everything that I'm going through. It helps me relax physically, because I definitely am here, there, and everywhere. So it helps me kind of sit down in one spot. I'm also I'm a big wellness person too. I do like to take care of my body. Not just my mom, but I do like to take care of my body with cryotherapy and acupuncture and all the good stuff that people should be doing.
Well, I guess to bring this back around and bring closure to this podcast, but not necessarily bring closure to Lio Rush. I want to fast forward to the when we reach the point where we can wrap it all up and look back on this AEW run for Lio Rush. When it's all said and done, what do you want people to know and remember about this particular run?
Ooh.
That I'm one of the best to ever do it.
Hell yeah.
Oh,
so good. But I don't think we can do any more. I think that's just how you have to end it. 100%. Just leave that in people's minds. So the next time they see him, go, yeah, no, he's the best. I love it.
Yeah, we'll just pull that clip and we're like, yeah, we knew.
No,
we knew. See, we had the proof, guys. Here it was. He said it. We heard it here first. AEW Unrestricted. Thank you for being here today, Lio. It was awesome.
Guys, I appreciate it.
Hell yeah. You can follow Lio Rush on Instagram and X. I am Lio Rush. And of course, you can listen and follow this podcast. New episodes every Thursday, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. We've got video episodes with all of our mugs on them. They released earlier in the week. Check our YouTube channel, AEW Unrestricted. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss an episode, and catch all of the latest AEW shows on the go when you download the TNT and TBS apps from the App Store and Google Play. Then sign up for a weekly newsletter at tntdrama.com/elitefleet. Get all the updates on upcoming shows, live events, sweepstakes, merchandise, and more. Dynamite TBS Wednesdays, Rampage TNT Fridays, Collision Live Saturdays, ROH streams every Thursday. I'm Aubrey Edwards. That's Will Washington, Lio Rush. Thank you so much for listening to AEW Unrestricted. Peace out.